Summer, 1942. The German military controls continental Europe from the Atlantic to the edge of the Soviet Union. The mechanized armor of the Wehrmacht is operating with a speed and coordination that no opposing force has been able to match. To sustain this massive operation, the German High Command launches Case Blue. The objective is to drive deep into southern Russia and capture the oil fields of the Caucasus. Without that fuel, the war machine grinds to a halt. But as the advance progresses, the objective shifts. Forces are divided, and a massive element of the German army is redirected toward an industrial hub on the Volga River. Strategically, it is secondary, but it bears the name of the Soviet leader, Stalingrad. In Moscow, the target is recognized as a direct, personal challenge. The response is Directive 227. A strict order is issued to the Red Army that retreat or surrender will not be tolerated. Not one step back. A logistical operation to secure resource lines is now a proxy battle between two absolute dictators. The city will be fought for, block by block, regardless of the cost. The decisions made in command centers hundreds of miles away are now bound by the physical reality of the Russian steppe. The German Sixth Army, the largest and best-equipped force in the invasion, pushes rapidly eastward across flat, wide-open terrain perfectly suited to their blitzkrieg tactics. This map shows the scale of that advance. As the armored spearhead drives deeper into Soviet territory, it drags its supply chains with it. Parts, ammunition, and fuel must travel over 1,000 miles to reach the front. To maintain this forward momentum, the Sixth Army concentrates its elite forces at the tip of the spear. This leaves hundreds of miles of exposed flanks to the north and south, defended only by under-equipped Romanian and Italian troops. In their race to the Volga, the German High Command has traded defensive security for speed, unknowingly walking into a massive geographic vulnerability. By August of 1942, German forces reach the edge of Stalingrad. Over 48 hours, Luftwaffe bombers drop 1,000 tons of explosives, reducing the industrial center to a landscape of shattered brick and twisted metal. But this destruction creates an immediate tactical problem. German armor requires open roads to maneuver. In a maze of collapsed buildings and deep craters, tanks are easily blocked and highly vulnerable. The commander of the Soviet defense, General Vasily Chuikov, recognizes this limitation and implements a new method of urban warfare to neutralize German advantages. He orders his troops to hold positions within dozens of meters of the German front. By keeping the lines this tight, German commanders cannot call in artillery or airstrikes without hitting their own men. The fighting devolves into what the Germans call the War of the Rats. It is a grinding, room-by-room struggle. Soldiers fight over individual floors of factories, apartment blocks, and even sewers, often engaging in hand-to-hand combat. The Sixth Army is caught in a meat grinder. Their technological edge is erased, and months are spent bleeding for a few yards of ruined real estate. While the block-by-block attrition consumes the attention of the German commanders inside the city, the true danger is taking shape in the wide-open countryside. Soviet General Georgy Zhukov uses the brutal defense of the city to buy time. 75 miles to the west, entirely out of sight, he quietly assembles over 1 million men and hundreds of heavily armored T-34 tanks. In late November, Zhukov launches his massive armored reserves into the vulnerable Romanian and Italian lines protecting the flanks. The breakthrough is rapid. Within 4 days, the northern and southern spearheads link up near Kalach, deep in the German rear. The Soviet High Command has successfully turned the tip of the German offensive into a locked cage. Over 250,000 Axis troops are now entirely surrounded. As the trap snaps shut, the weather turns. The bitter Russian winter arrives, plunging temperatures well below zero and burying the front in snow. Inside the pocket, what the Germans call the Kessel, or cauldron, the highly mechanized force is paralyzed. Without a continuous supply of fuel, tank engines freeze solid, and mobility drops to zero. Trapped in the frozen rubble, the troops run through their remaining rations. Starvation sets in, followed closely by severe frostbite, as thousands of men lacking proper winter uniforms slowly freeze in their dugouts. Recognizing his army will be destroyed if they remain stationary, General Friedrich Paulus requests immediate permission to abandon Stalingrad and punch a hole through the Soviet lines to escape. Hitler denies the request. Relying on an impossible logistical calculation from his air chief, Hermann Göring, he insists the Luftwaffe can drop the required 300 tons of daily supplies into the pocket. Barely a third of that material ever arrives. Logic and doctrine are completely overridden by personal ego, sealing the fate of over 300,000 men. By February of 1943, resistance completely collapses. The final airstrips are overrun, and the last German troops are pushed deep into the ruined basements of the city center. Out of ammunition and physically broken, the survivors emerge into the freezing air to surrender. Paulus, recently promoted to Field Marshal, defies Hitler's expectation of suicide and gives himself up. Of the original invasion force, nearly 150,000 are dead. Another 90,000 are marched into prison camps. On the other side, the Red Army has sacrificed well over 1 million soldiers and civilians to hold the Volga. The roar of the mechanized advance that swept across Europe just months earlier is replaced by the quiet of a frozen, devastated wasteland. The myth of German invincibility is broken. The campaign proves that stretching supply lines across a continent and prioritizing ego over strategy will break even the greatest military machine in history.